Now, before Evan gives me crap, I'm not actually going to drink an energy drink at 8:20 p.m. at night. I just thought I had beer in the fridge, and I didn't. So, desperate
That would
times
be
call
a
for
bold
desperate measures.
decision. That'd be
I
a
would
very
not
bold
fall asleep
decision.
till 4 in the morning if I drank this right now. So, there's that. Man, it took us a while to make this one happen.
Hey, life, fall, people have busy seasons. I am just thankful that it is happening.
Oh, yeah.
And I always look forward to it every year. So,
Yep. Should be
just
fun.
like Christmas.
So let's not waste any time. Welcome, everyone, to the Aged Out Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Fantini, and with me, as always, is...
Evan Worrell.
And comment, like, subscribe, share the video. All the links to support us, whether it be to buy a shirt or a sticker, check out the Aged Out Fundamentals playlist, or any of our other content. All those links are in the video description. And we actually kind of have an announcement today before we really get into this. And we made some connections this summer through some mutual friends of people around the activity. And today's episode is actually sponsored by Evan's Drumheads. So to kick off the sponsorship of the podcast, or this episode at least, we're doing a giveaway with Evans. So basically all you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, be subscribed to the Evans Drumheads official channel. Link to that will also be in the video description, and comment and like this podcast video. And then we'll do a selection of a winner with one of those like random comment pickers or whatever add-ons to YouTube a week from the day the video this drops. We don't know when this will come out, so just look at the video drop date in the description. You'll figure it out if it's happened or not. So yeah, happy to have Evan supporting what we're doing.
And the winner will get one of the Real Feel tactile drum pads, a Evans t-shirt, and an Evans hat.
Yeah, it would actually help if I said what the giveaway was for. You know, I'm new to the whole giveaway thing. So one of these pads, they're awesome, lightweight, feel great. The laminate on it is very articulate, but it's not super loud. I don't know how they did it. It's lightweight, awesome product. And then a hat and a shirt.
We did test it, though. One of the things that we were pleased with is that it has enough stability that when you're playing, like if you're playing rim shots, it doesn't do the wobble. Like
Small pads can do that
wobble.
sometimes.
Yeah. So,
but it is big enough.
it's good.
Cool stuff. All right. As you can see on the video screen and the video title, we're hanging out with Mr. Tom Rarick today to watch the Bluecoats 2025. Was this finals day or the day before finals that it was recorded?
I think it was finals day.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
It was. Yeah.
So, Evan, you want to take us away? And
obviously,
thank you.
welcome back. And the obviously the lineup of the Evans sponsorship for this episode works out really well because the Bluecoats use Evans products as well, and Mr. Rarick uses them as well. So we're happy about that.
We are proud to endorse Evans, and I personally am proud to endorse Evans. So thank you, Evans, for sponsoring this. It's great. Great synergy.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, let's jump into it, man. We always look forward to it. Your insight on how this thing evolves and comes to life. So the 2025 production, I know you guys always have such a creative process and involve artists that you use the source material from as well. How did this one kind of evolve and get going as far as like, hey, this is the idea. These are some of the source materials we want to use. Did you have a piece of music that originated or a visual idea? How did that become for the Observer Effect?
I think this one kind of evolved differently than certainly differently than 2025. Like 2025, I felt like we had a really good kind of solid idea, like very early on of like exactly what the show was. And it happens differently every year, obviously. This one was more like we had an idea of like moods and events and just kind of general concepts or like, the things like that. But we weren't quite sure how they all fit together yet. We knew that we would find a way, but it took us a long time to, I guess, put all the pieces together and wrap it in something that was kind of digestible or kind of that made sense and was cohesive. So I think honestly, like this kind of started. Well, in some ways, it started, I think, with like move-ins like a year and a half or 2 years ago, like when Ryan Lott first came out, and we did some experiments. He was just kind of fascinated with like just the tools that the drum corps is, just the distance and the amount of players and that kind of thing. And he was asking questions like, have you guys ever like literally tried like phasing, like one thing starts as a constant, one thing starts slower and kind of catches up or meets it, that kind of thing, and just like kind of creating like a blurriness and that kind of thing, playing with sound in that way. And we actually tried, like if like the closer from 2025, we tried that at one point as a phase, like where and there was a version of that's on video somewhere.
Or
Like
2025 or 2024?
Yeah, 2025. Or, I'm sorry, 2024. Sorry.
Yeah, we're
See,
going
I'm
2
already,
years back now.
See, we're so late doing this fall that I've already turned the page to 2026. Sorry. Yes, Lost at the Shrine was 2024. We'd actually kind of experimented like with that drum corps and that stuff that it just planted the seed and was something that he was interested in, something we was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's it's sciencey, in a way. It led me down that direction of like I started listening to, got my wheels turning musically, and I was like, oh well, piano phase, marimba phase, the Steve Reich is a logical thing, and I kind of started vibing on that a little bit, and just kind of started listening, and that was something, was always a just one of those kernels of a thought early on. So that kind of dates back to last summer. I think as far as the actual idea of itself, kind of the idea of causality, like one thing affecting another, and the result of that kind of thing was. Certainly a central idea like last fall when we started meeting about that, the observer effect, and kind of like when you dig deeper into quantum mechanics and, physics that way, things that are beyond me, like in a lot of ways. But things happening somewhere that can affect something somewhere else, or, kind of just like that kind of thing was interesting. So all of those things kind of came together to kind of create, we create a couple different moods. The piano phase was a thing we knew we wanted, rather than phasing, we kind of started talking about like, how does this work like in a drum corps setting? And, we could try to phase, but that would probably be really difficult and really be hard to adjudicate that. So what that kind of became was more displacement, I guess, or, there's a lot of splits in the show. There's marimba splits, snare splits. There's,
oh yeah, there are.
The use of delay within the trumpets, in the kind of 2 minutes into the show, they have that binary data is the name of the tune, but that you won't hear that obviously on this recording, but the use of delay and kind of like and using that to create rhythm, kind of building on itself, or this played live and then played back. Those were ideas that started kind of coming to the forefront.
You mentioned delay and stuff and being behind, like,
yeah,
is that where the grandma came into the picture? Because it's kind of a rudiment where that left accent feels like I had to ask about grandmas. You'll probably hold the world record for most.
It's a fair question, and I'm prepared to defend it like I did all summer.
No, I love that rudiment, so I'm not a hater on it at all.
Honestly, that was so. I guess continuing down this process of like kind of like delay and kind of displacement and those kinds of ideas. Certainly, Steve Reich, his music is kind of built on that. A lot of it. Drumming was something that came up. His piece drumming, which is like over an hour long, and it's in 4 movements. But the very beginning of it is all based on these just single notes, boom, 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 ba-dum, boom, ba-dum, boom, ba-dum, and it builds and kind of layers that way. So honestly, like that, the grandma rhythm was kind of built off of just working with the original drumming and kind of going, what is something that I can grab onto here, like and kind of and bring into a rudimental kind of context, and that seemed to be like. So we kind of make that evolution in drumming, like very much the way that Reich wrote it, albeit very abbreviated and with different instruments. But when we get to the the left hand kind of isolation where they're all up, or well, what you see that way, that seemed like to me like a kind of an icon or something to kind of like focus on, I guess, and make it that. So that just kind of came like the kind of the destination or the high point of that first evolution, and then kind of just like chose to use it kind of thematically throughout.
Okay.
It may happen. I don't know. It happens a good bit, but it also happens in different contexts, different tempos, different treatments, and all that kind of thing. So there was a real effort to make it evolve, I guess, and kind of like the observer effect. The act of observing something changes it, right? And there's this kind of horizontal relationship of that. So that also kind of played into it as well. And again, you're not supposed to get that necessarily from watching the show, but those are things that at least inspire or connect kind of design ideas that hopefully come across as something that people enjoy or can kind of grab onto in some way.
Another Easter egg.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So
inside
baseball.
I
just out going, man, I love grandmas. We're gonna play a bunch from this year. It was like, how do I I mean, take this music, the drumming that's very bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, 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 you know, like it's pretty simple is the wrong word, but it's very one thing and very digestible that way. And how to bring that into a kind of a rudimental setting. So that's all it was. Yeah.
Did you have pretty early on the inclination to divide it between pods of groups of the snare line, or were you just kind of, did you sketch it out originally and be like, this is a little chaotic for like all unison? How'd that kind of come to life?
I think originally, like, I think we talked about it being kind of like 3 different pods, you know, like kind of bass drums, and then intermix like snares, tenors, or that kind of thing. I mean, we even talked, I think, early on too about like, okay, what if we actually get bongos and actually put it on the field? Like, if you're familiar with this piece at all, if you've looked it up, I encourage you to do it, you know, and to look at it. But usually, I mean, the first movement usually is like a bunch. I forgot how many sets, but it's 6 or 8 sets of bongos that are set up in a line, like vertically, right? So like that was actually one idea. We could have started a show that way with actually drums on the field. So that like not battery drums. So it kind of evolved, I guess. That was a starting point for that. Then it kind of became, well, if we do it with the battery, like we could split the snares, tenors up. Basses could be their own thing, because the basses are the first thing to play like a downbeat in the whole thing. And then I think it was at the April camp when it was the first time we heard that live, because I'd written some other stuff for January, and then of course stuff gets sent over the course of the winter. But it was like first time we heard that live or saw it was at the April camp, and I remember standing there with John and with some of the other designers, and they were in the line, and kind of like they may have learned it different ways, like A/B, like every other person, or half and half kind of thing, but we noticed really something cool about just being able to see it in proximity. So the pods are meant to be kind of, I mean, they're close to each other kind of, but they're certainly their own entities. But I think originally that would have been probably pods, or like something that was more, separated horizontally. But seeing that at the April camp was like, there's value in kind of seeing all that stuff in the same frame, I guess, rather than spreading it out. And I think it also lent a lot more comfortability to the performance of it as well.
Well, I'm sure. I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah, I was kind of glad to get to that point. I was like, we just saved ourselves like hours of rehearsal with that. But not to say it wasn't challenging the way it was.
Right.
It would have been even more so. I think that was one of my concerns in processing all that, is like thinking about, okay, how do we actually rehearse this? Artistically awesome, but how that goes.
Oh yeah. Evan, you're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, we're good with a project, but maybe not a project within a project.
Yeah, well, we already had enough projects, honestly. We attempted about every different audio project. I think we could attempt. We had no idea how it was going to turn out. So
that's one of the things that popped into my head when I rewatched this to just like refresh myself on it before we got on here earlier today. I'm like, man, there had to be so many things they had to break down as an ensemble on the field, within drill, visually, like to line things up and have like the formula of listening responsibilities and trial and error, and it had to be a ton of work from that.
Well, I would imagine.
God bless Ryan Kilgore and what he and his team do to put that all together. I mean, we try and help, but what they do is amazing. So.
Yeah, just a full-on clinic on just audio design. But I would imagine the show itself was probably rather difficult to rehearse, not in full ensemble.
Yeah,
we find that. I mean, just in general, I think with show designs, or at least we found that it's hard to rehearse without the props, like from a visual standpoint, or it takes a long time to reset, like when the props move. And there were certain parts of the show that were hard to rehearse, just because it's like the very beginning. I think it was one of those, because the props travel or that kind of thing, and it was just like, it's like a 5-minute reset to get everything back to where it is. So yeah, it's forcing us to use maybe different techniques as far as how we navigate a rehearsal and that kind of thing. Same thing with audio. Like if you take away the audio from some of this stuff, it's like the other half of the rhythm and tonality is missing, so we're not sure what we're really getting. You'll hear at the very end of this too, like we'll probably talk about side chaining later, I guess. But there's moments where it's just the snares by themselves, or the drum set hitting pretty broad, just open notes. But we couldn't rehearse that part without the brass, honestly, because it was all based on kind of the levels and the kind of where those levels were set and where the gates were and like how much sound was actually making it through to get the right mix of all that and make things come across the right way. So yeah, it gets more. We brought it on ourselves for sure, but it got very, very complicated. You know, yeah.
Well, from the final product, I bet it was definitely worth it from a just work effort. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is there, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I would agree.
It turned out really well is what I'm trying to get
innovation aspect.
Yep. All right. So do you all want to just jump in and then we can talk as we go through it like normal now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
All right. Let me reset the video back to the beginning. All right. Here we go. The link to this.
Shout out to the Bluecoats Percussion Media Team or Bluecoats Media Team.
Yep. Beat me to it. The link is also in the video description to go watch this without us talking if you so choose.
Maybe preferred. Also, if you're not listening to this with headphones, you probably should.
Highly recommend good headphones.
Just the cinematic ambiance. It's Quan, right, too? Timpani player?
Mm-hmm.
Nasty.
It's Quan, yes.
Just all the metallic, esoteric sounds. I feel like I'm in space.
Interstellar.
Here's the pods.
The interaction with up front to the snare left accents is awesome.
Kind of the front playing that same grandma rhythm.
Yeah, I can talk about that in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Great bass line fill right there.
Boom. Opening statement.
Yeah, so hopefully some kind of memorable motifs that we kind of set up there. Certainly the grandma thing, the that little bass lick you mentioned too. Like I always loved that part too because they were like out towards side one and they did a turn around that time too. And there's like I don't know, everything kind of drops out and their sound always came right through. It was a really great showcase for their Navi and Alex up top there and their quality of sound with all that. But when you referred to like the 16th kind of the kind of the where drumming itself settles before it starts to phase. In addition to piano phase, which we do in part 2, drumming is also a phase piece where they build these rhythms and they add a note till we get to like all the notes being filled in of and then one player kind of starts speeding up a little bit and finds that kind of middle ground and like you phase until you find like the next alignment, I guess. Mm-hmm. With all that. Yeah. So obviously we didn't do that intentionally. But that rhythm, that's a little bit of a Easter egg to like you'll notice different times on the bongos. You can't see Carson right now, but he's to side one of the timpani there on the kind of the full-time Glock and auxiliary part. He has 2 sets of bongos, one tuned a little bit higher and then one tuned to the actual like pitches of the Reich. Shout out to Omar Carmenatas and Dave Hall for making me tune those to the exact pitches, and it was awesome. But you'll hear that rhythm in the tenor. Sometimes there's this kind of sweet motion between high to low kind of thing that goes through there. So again, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I guess
no, you're good. This is great.
So the over top of that is actually from the transition between the second to the third movement of drumming, which is all metals. So like all that stuff from the very beginning of the show that's kind of layered on top of kind of the brass and that kind of thing, all that. There were 6 total glockenspiels plus, obviously synthetic accompaniment with that to kind of fill in those gaps and create that kind of blurriness and sparkly kind of stuff. But all that rhythm it's the same rhythm from the very beginning, just in a different context. It kind of evolves all the way to this point. So, it's not the same thing the whole time, but it's all from the same place. And that starting from that singular kind of glockenspiel high register thing to a fully kind of orchestrated kind of thing here at about 2 minutes into the show. That's where that all comes from. So some of it is layering Reich upon himself, I guess, from within drumming, but it all kind of works because he's exploring kind of similar material within those 4 movements. So certainly worked for us here.
Cool.
I love that.
Yep.
And don't be afraid to talk too much. People hear us talk all the time, and you have all the inside scoop and the details about all this, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And you're not talking too much, by the way.
This well, before we start, just so I don't talk over it, the next part we're going to hear is where we start to introduce the concept of delay. So you'll see like the marimbas go digga digga dum bum, and then that is repeated at like a rhythmic interval right after that. Is that recorded kind of delay, but it's the sound that they made just being played back. So when you watch the players play that, so at this point we're kind of like preparing the audience for what they're going to hear next with the in the horns, which you don't hear here, but but if you watch the video, all that all the stuff in this section that's all filled in trumpet wise is just kind of 16th note delay that's filling in those in between notes, but requires that accuracy obviously and the timing of the synthetic performer as well. So
a lot of individual responsibility.
I think that would be the perfect way to describe most of this show percussive. I can't imagine the level of responsibility player to player within this. Just listening to the musical demands on them, that's the perfect way to put it. Individual playing responsibility and accountability.
Shout out to Matt Jordan as well, who kind of crafted this little front ensemble introduction, along with obviously the whole sound design element of the show and a lot of the audio projects, or all of the audio projects kind of run through him. But there was this part and another part towards the end of the show that he really took the lead on, kind of bringing all together and using that concept of delay. So it turned out to be some of my favorite parts of the show, for sure.
MJ, the GOAT.
Yep.
There you go. There it is.
It's on the drum set as well, like the bass drum notes. Boom, 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 boom. Hear the echo of the bass drum. Those kind of They all had different rates of delay too. Like he had a dotted eighth delay. So again, that same concept is applied to the trumpet ensemble here as they start going. But we're just laying down time, laying down a groove here. 156, I think. So a tempo where we can use kind of 16th roll bass, some syncopation that reads better at this tempo than it does faster.
Yeah, this little burst.
5 strokes.
Yeah, little 5 strokes.
Great.
Splits again there in the tenors a little bit. Again, little tempo bump here. Just like a percussion kind of interlude.
Dude, the bass to marimba interaction is insane. Pass right to the quads.
Just travel through the battery.
Those are fast
That
little
like
5 strokes.
re-attack,
Yeah.
that like full percussion ensemble re-attack too at the low end after that shot.
Yeah, it's a fun, challenging tempo, but it's fun because we don't usually get to play these kind of things.
Yeah. I'll just unison.
Kind of a long evolving accelerando. More grandmas for you there, but at 200 this time.
Good isolated rough. There's a lot there.
Yeah, the chord resolution on the synth there at the end. Well,
Kind of the end of the first evolution, kind of the show, or part 1. Here's where we start piano phase. This is all obviously just snare front ensemble.
Using all kinds of different textures there in the snare line, off-speed rolls.
Splits
There's
the
the
marimbas here, the
splits.
16th.
Oh man. It just split
The
left hand.
splits in the snares.
With the crescendo.
And they were hoofing it through this whole thing too. Different
the
forms,
circle
different.
drum.
Yeah.
From a technical
that
drumming
circle drum.
standpoint, you mentioned they're hoofing it during that. The level of control and maturity to play a high mom like that and reset in time to play two more open fours that still require finger responsibility and dexterity to get them out. And to hear you say they're hoofing it, they're just running during that, makes it even more
They're
impressive.
actually spinning in a circle. They were in that circle in the middle of the field.
Yeah, they
kind
did
of
a
Okay.
spinning.
circle in the middle,
Like, kinda-
and then
kinda
they like
rotating.
unfolded
Jeez.
into the
Yeah.
I'm going to back up because
and
they
then it, and
handled
then
that.
it, and then it after that they kind of spin out into the arc for the split left hand crescendo.
Well,
solo there.
While we're stopped, I'll talk a little bit about this whole thing too. Obviously, it's snare focused kind of thing, but it's really meant to be a combined thing, like front ensemble, surely, and snares. That whole way, that idea of splitting, or like this is our version of phasing, I guess, in a way. So instead of phasing, we kind of like if you're listening to this with a keyboard kind of like ear, it certainly does the splits, but it also it modulates a couple times to get us to where we need functionally to get to for the rest of part two, for the ballad portion, a little bit. Also, it just instead of like kind of exploring that blurriness between like notes, we kind of just shifted over an eighth note. So you'll hear the pattern start in unison there before the snares come in. As we go in there, it kind of splits where some of the players move over by an eighth note and they start the pattern like on the second beat. So we get these crunchier intervals. By the end, this last phrase, we're moved over an entire beat. So again, there's kind of another kind of concept of kind of splitting or evolution, or being changed by observing it further, I guess, is how I justified it in some ways. The other fun tidbit about this, want to give a shout out to Roger, who, in 2024, they played a piece in their lot tune, their etude was called Shadows. I forget the band it was written for, or who wrote that, but I'm sure the internet's screaming at me right now.
Put it in the comments section, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like, I think it was in 12/8, 9/8, one of the two, but it was chord note equals 138. I'm always looking for things that like he does and things that are so cool, and I don't know, they're groovy, they resonate with me, but they're different than I play.
Meshuggah.
Meshuggah, that's it. I should have known that. But there's just the tempo conversion between like a dotted quarter equals 138 and the quarter note equals 1 or 206. I forget what the exact conversion was, but it was off by like, if we recontextualize the rhythm, was off by like fractional number of beats. So this is something a lot of these guys had already played, and a lot of that, like the high mom into the fours, there's a lot of language in there. It's not exactly in the same succession, but some of it is. And a lot of the inspiration for the back half of this feature, the high mom part, the fours, the paradiddle kind of like duple roughs that come up at the very end of this is all inspired or exactly Roger, right? So in a different context. So it's just one of those, people might not know that or recognize it, but if you go back and watch Shadows, you'll probably recognize some of this stuff that's being slightly repurposed and just used in a different way.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And I love that modulation stuff, like what you're talking about, where you move it. I like doing that independent stuff, like on my own. Like if you're playing like double stop, triple beat, then you split it by a 30-second note, you're splitting, and then you move it down another 30-second note, and then you're doing the da-cha-cha-cha, and then you move it down, and eventually becomes flat taps, and like that sort of stuff's cool though. I didn't know that about the front, but I'm gonna pay attention to that.
I remember watching the lot thing last year and seeing the like the roughs at the end of this and going, I need to put that in the show next year. I think I told him that. I said that's going in somewhere, like, because I just love it. So, just found the right spot. So.
Let's back up a little bit. Then.
Yeah, we'll get to the beginning of this.
Yeah, so we just listen for the harmonic evolution of this a little bit too. moved over an eighth note right here in the front. This is the vibe, I guess. Yep. Yeah, all that stuff. Super
Oh, into the timpani.
The timpani.
Yeah. You hear the snare delay again.
Mm-hmm.
Hear the kind of the. That's one thing I'm really proud of. Is a lot of this stuff is, they're electronic kind of embellishment, our own sound design. Things we just played, all those buzzes that went out to the edge, they all had echoes that kind of turned into like sounding like breath, almost. They were really nice kind of binding element between tunes. Trombone solo here. Sorry, I talked over all of Kwan's like really cool stuff there.
Here, let's get the timpani real quick. Hold on.
He plays the.
Did I go back far enough?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, keep going back.
We'll go from here.
Everybody just listen to the timpani. There you go.
Dude, the pitch accuracy.
Yeah. Where's the? He's got another little solo that kind of turns the page into the ballad. Yeah.
I love
It was super hot that day, and I wish it wasn't like 120 degrees and the boards. You hear the boards kind of get dead and sound. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty dry, but
start to get flat.
Yeah. Again, this is still accompaniment to the trombone solo here.
Oh, great.
Yeah, stretching the beat.
Yeah, push and pull of time there.
Communication between players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear it. Just trying to find ways to move things forward without getting in the way of the soloists at this point.
Continuing to feel time incredibly maturely together.
Yeah. And here's where we kind of start.
You got them?
You hear the piano phase kind of like, insinuated right there. Starting to wind it up a little bit. Here's the drumming kind of motif. Back to the single notes. Electronics kind of start pulsing. There's a lot going on there.
Great soundscape.
Yeah. Yeah, and the
right
cool
into
thing
the
about
groove.
that is you don't really notice when it starts, but it's when the tenors enter with their kind of add-on is when that all starts to kind of start going, and we kind of layer, and then that eventually is revealed. It's been there kind of the entire time. You'll hear some kind of themes from before in the show there, the binary data.
Oh, the unison. That was a full ensemble sextuplet there to end the phrase out of nowhere.
I think it was every single person, I think.
Yep. At least I would believe it. I think it was.
These sections take me forever to write. Yeah.
Lots of ink.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's slow, and it's certainly not about us, right? As a percussion, we certainly provide the color and the drive and punctuation, that kind of thing. But this is brass soloist, and this is a full-on party, right? But it's trying to figure out where the technique, where the interest, and kind of where that stuff can lie within this stuff. So I think that was maybe the last thing that I wrote, honestly, keyboard-wise. I think I wrote the battery stuff before April Camp, but I didn't write the keyboard notes maybe until like mid-June.
You read my mind. I was literally just about to ask, when you're writing a moment like that, where you're more accompaniment, not necessarily the focus, would you write the front first to go with the horn parts you're accompanying, or would you write, does it depend on the moment? You said you wrote the battery stuff way before the front stuff here.
Yeah, I think even for like the April camp, like I had drum set, battery, timpani maybe like written, kind of, or like an idea what that was going to be, like, because that's more the essence of this. Nobody would listen to this and go, you know what that really needs is more marimba, you know, like. But we're in an activity where that's kind of like, you know, that's kind of what we do sometimes. So there is a competitive element of that too, like kind of figuring out what you have to do, what the moment requires. But so as parts like maybe stubbornness of like just kind of delaying that, but. You got out in the field and it didn't feel out of place, but it certainly, there was an element of like color and motion and that kind of thing we could bring to it. So sometimes having that luxury of players that can play pretty much anything and learn very quickly and are able to do that, you can kind of wait and throw things at them after you can see what it needs rather than try and guess like during the winter. And, because, they can learn that in a day. And it sounds like they've known it for a week. So.
And so,
and I'm sure.
Go ahead, Evan.
Credit to them.
Well, I was gonna say, I'm sure definitely, when you start putting in notes on notation software, and you've got all these fast marimba vibe runs, like it can sound really out of place with just the MIDI file. You're like, So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But once they start turning up the brass and the speakers in the field, it pretty goes away pretty quick. So.
Yeah, you mentioned
I'm always famous for turning up the volume of the percussion on the MP3s that I send, like too loud. So,
just to make sure it doesn't get lost, that sextuplet, that whole phrase built. You said every single player in the percussion ensemble played that sextuplet to end that phrase.
I'm pretty sure. Yep. Even a cymbal roll somewhere in there, that kind of thing, or a bass drum.
Yeah.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know Quan worked that out for himself. He felt left out, so he
had to get on the fun.
Yeah, he's playing quads there. Quan on quads for a minute right there. But that's a really fun moment for the Corps. We had some wonderful brass soloists. Doug knocked that out of the park as far as just the brass treatment of that, and just he's great at a lot of things, but that's certainly his wheelhouse is stuff in that vein. Just being able to make that feel authentic, and it was a great moment.
All right.
And which part was that piece?
Was
that the?
This is M83.
Okay.
It's been way too long now. What is the?
Is that the Dream State? The Solitude?
Nope. Solitude is the name of the tune. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the you reacted to the sound design there at the one point that whoom, whoom. We had those little string kind of plucks, boom, 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 boom. It's escaping me because it's just took on so many different versions and where it actually came from. But I remember that was something that Dave Hall brought up too. Was about we were a moment where I basically rewrote the whole middle of that, like from the quads came in, like at least certainly keyboard wise and everything. That was one of those moments we had to kind of redo in spring training just to make it connect from like what the Dream State was with the trombone solo that happened before that, and this kind of percussion kind of interlude between that and just a wildly different thing that happened. With the Solitude kind of impact.
Gotcha.
Once we got that out in the field and seen what it may require, what it needs, that kind of thing. But that was the thing that really tied together. And it was like Dave bringing like an alternate version of Solitude that he, I don't know, saw on Instagram or TikTok or Reels, or it became famous there maybe, I think. Or maybe a more popular version of it had that kind of whoom, 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 and those boom, 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 that kind of created this groove. And we were able to sprinkle that in during that whole kind of interlude where the tenors start with the add-on. Keyboards have a lot of stuff happening. There's stuff that alludes to piano phase in there, and kind of, again, other parts of the show you've heard previous, but are, again, changed a little bit by observing it over time. So, anyhow.
All right.
Man, it's awesome. There's so much
Yep.
depth.
Little outro with trombone solo here, and that transitions to a keyboard kind of transition.
Oh, great at cello.
Yeah, it was a total rhythmic cello. Yeah. or modulation, I guess it was. Yeah, the same notes just kind of repeated over different kind of rhythmic groupings. They got faster, obviously. It's the drumming rhythm there.
How many tapes early season did you get where it's like, how many tapes early season did you get where it was like, just kind of like not even at the end rhythm there, bass?
Yeah. Well, it just took us a little bit to figure out a little bit the pacing. Yeah. This whole part of the show, we, again, related to kind of quantum physics and this whole thing, but it was this idea of kind of unpredictable extremes. And that was, you'll hear everything, and it was, you'll hear the softest things we play, the loudest things we play, the most, the starkest things, the most, just trying to exaggerate, again, the extremities of the ensemble's capability. And that took us a while, I think, just to figure out what that could be for the bass drums. We ended up adding a little more time just to let the kind of the rim things kind of settle. Ba-do-ba-boom, ba-do-ba-boom, ba-do-ba-boom. And letting that kind of, everybody kind of lean into that, what that pacing was. Some of the stuff you really had to get in front of an audience and kind of see how they reacted to it and what it needed. And of course, adjudicators in the audience and just kind of what feels right after a time. But yeah, there's a lot of things in there. That little, the Reich rhythm there at the very end. The log drum that's in there, that was a remnant of something. The original piece that became the closer, that was kind of half done when Sunlux kind of sent it to us, had this kind of prepared piano that kind of sounded like a log drum. So that was something I wrote in the very beginning of the show. If you go back and listen to the very beginning of the where the drums come in or the battery comes in, there's a log drum layer to that thing. It happens through piano phase as well, but it's just one of those things like, hey, it's cool, it's in this piece, so we're going to use it. But it just became something we could just, again, kind of highlight in that kind of wooden environment with the rims and the boom, boom. So Matty Waves did a great job of that.
I didn't even catch that the first time.
Yep.
Dude, log drum. Thank goodness for electronics. You can use stuff like that and actually hear it now.
Right.
For sure. If you mic it the right way, it's a great tool. Yeah.
Great roll.
So now we start getting some of the effects.
That was a chill kind of pitched up kind of thing with the wireless mic there in Jackson's drum. Great bliss there from Juan all the way down the drums.
Nice.
Juan did a great job this year, man. They had a couple great moments.
Have a great unison run.
Ooh, the vibe's picking up that run. Dude, the timing of the sound effects too. Sheesh.
There's the Tom Rarick cross stick.
We had to wait for it. He did a few too. So.
Front dropping out for that roll.
Yeah,
I have never
really liked that part.
I've never had this thought before, but there was like a synth run or a keyboard run in the synth that just immediately transported my brain into a Yanni song, like a Santorini, and something. Go back. I don't know. It was just I don't know. It's just so.
Oh, it's
dude, I love Yanni.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's actually, it's like an abstraction of piano phase, that kind of 12-note thing, but it's just kind of adapted to this a little bit. But I can see how you say that.
it just put a smile on my face because I don't know, it unlocked some core memory just randomly. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think I would.
Yeah, there's a lot in here. There's the extremes, that the beginning stuff, just the individual things from, the individual sections, the snares, the kind of pitch shift stuff. Progressed into this last section too, is the tenor feature through there, was the cello rondo through that, vertical stuff with the keyboards, and then this very ending is certainly very groove based. I mean, it's from a piece by Dmitry Selepanov called Motto. It's written for it's like 3 string quartets and piano kind of thing. So it sounds and electronic effects, but it sounds one way, certainly, like with that combination. With like the chord progression, the flat 2 kind of thing in the progression here, it sounds very Spanish when you put it or a little bit Spanish when you put it like in a drum corps context, which I think it kind of helped. I don't know. People seem to really enjoy it, I guess, right? As far as like a throwdown and a familiar part of the show. So,
heck yeah, I love it.
Yep. So this is the new tune that we worked on with Sunlux, or kind of collaborated with, right, to happen. So there's another one of this is from the beginning or the middle of like the original Dream State Sunlux. All this stuff, these kind of sounds like steel guitar almost, or really stark piano chords. This is the other part of the show that Matt Jordan really took the lead on, this transition right here, and really knocked it out of the park with the combination of acoustic and synthetic stuff. So this part of the show is where we can talk about the concept of side chaining a little bit if you want.
Yeah,
let's do it first,
because I had never heard of that before.
Do you want to talk first and then listen?
Sure. Well, you're not going to hear it. That's the letdown, I guess, because it needs the brass. But I can explain why you won't hear it. I guess that may help. So essentially, the concept is that you guys are familiar with like gating sound, or like setting like threshold gates, or a threshold for if they reach that point before sound's allowed through, kind of thing. So it's essentially that. So like the brass is playing backfield, right? They're all playing that backfield. The RF players, or the players that are mic'd, their sound is, their amplification of their sound is being opened by the drum set, or the snares in this case, when they hit a certain threshold dynamically, a certain number of dBs. So like when you're going to hear Jacob play a bunch of like bass drum, floor tom. He's the drum set player. Sorry, you're going to hear him play some like low stuff. That's triggering the low brass and allowing that sound to come through. When he hits the snare, that's the mellophones coming through. So you're not going to hear it here, but when you go back and watch the show on YouTube or whatever in context, you'll know which sounds are being kind of amplified when and by who, I guess. So when the snare drums turn around, they play their feature. That's opening the brass, the trumpet RF players, or the players that are amplified backfield. So that's allowing their sound through. Halfway through that, the snares begin to trigger the entire brass ensemble. So there's a evolution to that, where it just starts low brass, then mellophones with Jacob, just the trumpets with the snares, and then the back half of the phrase, or the second half of the snare feature, is the entire thing. So by the time they go digga 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 at the end, it's this sustained kind of open kind of thing that's triggering all 76 brass, or I think that's how many we have, 76, 74, or something like that. But that's the long, or the short version of what side chaining is. Very basically, it is something is being played, and then you're opening a gate somewhere. Somebody else is controlling that sound. So it could be like a piano, or something that's unamplified, or whatever. And commonly, Sunlux does it that way, where Ryan will be playing piano, be playing something that won't be coming out of the speakers, and then Ian Chang, who's the drummer, will act with his bass drum, will be playing his piano, essentially, like activating and opening that sound. So something we found challenging with this too is it took us a while to kind of find the right balance, because you would think like on a snare drum that like when you look at the waveform that it's like this huge like thing, but it's actually pretty narrow. Like when you get to like setting levels. So the intensity of the evening, or just like the volume of it was a very subtle thing to like dial in, as far as like the where that gate kind of sat, and what decibel level and what energy kind of opened all those sounds. So it took us a while to get this blended really well, but it was a fun project to do. So I may have confused people about sidechaining, but I apologize if I did. But I'm learning myself. It was a brand new concept for all of us as well, or at least applying it to drum corps.
Just another moment where really hard to rehearse without all the pieces.
Sure was. I mean, it was kind of cool because you could just like rehearse the snare feature, which is that kind of the nice thing too on the field. Like as far as percussion judge, that's all they heard was the snares. Like they weren't in front of the speakers, so they were hearing just the acoustic sound, but the audience was getting a different impression of that. So it was an interesting dynamic, I guess.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, proud of us for doing it.
A different observer effect for the judges.
Yeah. So when you hear things that are weird or sparse here, it's because the brass is playing, I guess.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So they're low notes. I'll finish later.
Yeah, the floor tom in this.
Pause 1 second there.
Yep.
So the original intent with that too is to write something very two height that was going to like the accents would kind of pop out and then everything else be kind of underneath and get that mix of sound. I forget honestly like where we kind of ended up with that kind of setting those thresholds. I think my gut is that most of it kind of came through with the trumpets, but it's been like 3 months now, so my memory is not great for that. So they finished that and kind of the 16th at the very end. Jacob plays that kind of dig-it. I just thought of this, but it was funny. It was probably a year ago at least, but it was the infancy of this tune. This it's called Endlessly now, but at that time it was called Again, the first version of it. But Ryan Lott from Sonolux was sending us like voice memos of just ideas. Like, so he had it was like a Logic file. He was singing voice memos into his phone over the Logic file, but the one time he was just like, wouldn't it be cool if there was like this Phil Collins like drum set solo and he sent this like like that kind of thing. So that was my ode to originally there was nothing there and there was like this awkward moment of the show and then I was like, I got it. We're gonna put Ryan's Phil Collins drum solo in there. So
perfect. We got a Phil Collins call out in the middle of the Bluecoats show.
That's right. So
I can feel it.
So this is all about kind of reactivating the sparkliness and the energy kind of in the beginning a little bit, the groove. And kind of this kind of big stadium kind of toms, that kind of energy. That's some 2 mallet stuff we haven't done yet in the show, really, as far as some faster stuff, some harmonized things for the keyboards. Little splits there again.
Great space there, felt by the whole ensemble.
I'm gonna slow it down, open it up.
Fall back to the beginning of the show again, though.
Throw in the few grandmas there at the last few bars.
I mean, at that point, you
full circle. You had to, obviously.
I mean,
you started with so many, at the show.
Once you commit to it, you have to go all the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You commit to the bit, you follow through. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
I think one of the things that sticks out to me as an observer is, just how seamless a lot of it is.
Did you practice that one?
I did not. That just came to me.
So took me a second.
Improvisation there. Just how seamless everything is and how much of a cinematic universe the percussion ensemble creates in addition with the brass, the sound design, the front, the battery, just all of it. It's the coordination is really remarkable.
Thank you. Yeah, we spend a long time doing that, and it's like and everybody has input into that for sure. From a visual side, from a brass and overall kind of music side of things too. Like we're constantly in each other's business at that time. Like making sure all that stuff works for everybody. And I think that's
So
you know
would you say
hopefully
that
that comes
then,
through eventually.
so I don't forget to ask this, sorry did I cut you off before you finished? I didn't mean to.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I was winding down.
Okay.
Trying to figure out how to get out of it.
Would it be safe to say that at this point in this iteration of the Bluecoats and the way the Corps operates and approaches the whole length of the season, spring training is about, figuring out these formulas of ensemble timing. It's about staging the moments of the show correctly and pacing everything the right way so you can hit the road with the closest or the best product possible. And then you'll kind of worry about, dialing in the clarity at moments and figuring out the the playing and the achievement level of things. Is that safe to say that spring training is really just like, let's get the product right and then we'll clean as we go throughout the season? Or is it kind of all the above at one time? Or
I'm not sure we ever really talk about it that way.
Yeah.
But I think certainly the idea of like everybody's very committed to the fact that we need to get the overall thing like close to finding the form, finding like the bones or like the tent poles of this thing and making sure everything is like in the right proportion and space. And while we have that time to experiment and everything, that takes precedent over kind of micro things for sure. We spend a lot of time together as a Corps, like visually and staging, and we have ensemble, we have production ensemble, we have like that kind of verges somewhere in between kind of live staging and where they play, and so we spend a lot of time together, like doing those things. So it's not a lot of like on the field with we're not in the field for 8 hours with a just run around as a battery and doing percussion ensemble. For the most part, we try and take advantage of those times where we have blocks, but it's a lot about getting the show correct, or as correct as it can be before we get out there.
The reason I throw that out there is obviously there are, in the past handful of years, the internet is going to do what the internet does. And I'm just trying to push on here, like how a group starts out on July 1st or whenever the heck the first show is. Like, relax, everybody. Every year, different corps are going to come out with different levels of clarity right out of the gate. But it's like the people doing this have been doing this for a very long time. They understand how to pace the summer. They know how to prioritize effectively to get them where they want to be in the middle of August, not on July 1st. So like everybody, in the internet loves to catastrophize and freak out. And we talked to Rudy and Scott with BD about this whole thing too, of like, some groups come out cleaner than others every year. Some groups, Bluecoats, come out super clean. Sometimes they're not as clean as other groups. Some groups, Blue Devils, come out really good. Sometimes they don't. Like, it's just depends on what the show needs. And these people know what they're doing. So just relax, everybody. Chill.
I'll tell you, it is a change. It is a changing kind of environment though. Like, cause the season used to be 3 or 4 weeks longer, and you could have 2 different seasons or like a slow start and kind of like. Now it's like you do your first show and it's like 2 weeks later San Antonio, and it's like it feels very real very quickly. I don't
doubt that at all. We've talked about that a lot.
So yeah, it's never something we think about going. It doesn't matter like what we're like when we come out. It's just more of a product of maybe what we, how long it takes us to figure something out, or just maybe overly ambitious with something or whatever. But or just finding that sweet spot of whatever is going to be time out the right way for the amount of number of days we have and all that. So, but really gifted, or lucky to have such gifted performers that can make that. It's amazing to me continually when you give them a week and don't change their show, or give them a couple days even, and just how much better they can get, and like and the teachers just go to town, and it's awesome to watch. So there is that. They're kind of a victim of their own,
success,
their own achievement and own success or own ability, I guess, at that point too. Because it's like, oh, we can do this, but some of that's finding that balance of like what you put on them and what you allow, how much time you allow them to, to get better and all that. So.
Yeah,
and I guess we're into November already, so
like 2 weeks. Well, I guess 2 weeks till BOA, and then a week after is we're like 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks from auditions at this point. So.
How many
Yeah,
vets?
so you all doing a in person or what?
We do. There's virtual option that's available. I'm not sure the end date on that, but those have been open, I believe, for a while. Texas is. Let me get my calendar up real quick. Texas is the 22nd of November, I believe. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Bluecoats.com/join will tell you all this information.
There you go.
There it
the
is.
Ohio camp is the weekend after Thanksgiving, like 28th, 29th, 30th.
It's the weekend after.
Weekend after, and then
that's right.
I believe I'm 99% sure the same day as the next weekend in Atlanta and California, or the same weekend, Southern California. Again, Bluecoats.com just would have all the details for that for anybody who's interested or wants to look that up.
Is the Ohio audition still in that same middle school it's been in for God knows how long?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. We have been doing some camps at a different school a little bit further from Canton.
Okay.
Like the January camp has been there. I think the April camp was there this year.
Hey. I know that school. Bluecoats, first and last corps I ever auditioned for.
Me too, actually. It was actually my first and last tour audition for too.
It was my first audition. I auditioned for the Bluecoats in 1991. Yeah.
I'm not going to say that was the year that I was born, but it was the year that I was born.
I'm way past being hurt by that stuff,
Okay.
man. I was doing some stuff at IUP this week, my alma mater, and like I was saying about things when I was in school there, like kind of thing, and like. And I graduated there like in '96, and I was like, "What year were you born?" He's like, "2007." Like,
Dude.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That's where the college kids are now. So
it is. I remember when I was still teaching, and obviously college kids were born in 07 now. Like when I was still doing more high school teaching and everything, I remember the transition over to when it was like, oh, I'm now teaching kids that were born after the year 2000. Like the 90s like aren't a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, they were a thing. But
anyway.
Yeah. We get sidetracked. It's fun.
Sure. We can talk about old man stuff later.
But this was a blast like it always is. I mean, you have anything else you want to bring up, Evan, or any other points you want to hit on? Or
No, I'm good. I'm just, always thankful that you sacrifice the time to come on and share this stuff with us. It's always very fascinating for me, and I know a lot of people enjoy it as well.
Yep.
Oh, it's a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on. And like I said, it's been like 3 months, so it's really cool to go back and experience this again and remember where some of this inspiration came from, and mostly just the achievement of the students, and what a wonderful time we had putting this together and taking it on the road. So thank you to them. Thank you to you guys for this platform as well. So
kudos to the Bluecoats staff, members especially, for all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into putting it out there and throughout the summer. And Tom, we love having you on, and hopefully we'll do it again after next summer. We will for sure see you at some point, whether it's indoor related or whatever else before that, or on the road over the summer, next summer. But everybody else, comment.
Sounds great.
Comment, like, subscribe. Don't forget about the giveaway. Comment, like the video, subscribe to Evan's Drumheads channel, the sponsor of this video today. Shirt, hat, and the attack tile. I already put it back on the stand, so I can't hold it up again.
It does sound like Evan has a Drumheads channel now. You said Evan's Drumheads channel, and then you kind of pointed at Evan. So
Evan
it's not
starting
Evan's Drumheads channel. It's Daddario Evan. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Links to all that stuff's in the description, and we'll see everybody in the next one.
Peace.
See you guys.